Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D.
Brief.
This is the D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I'm Becky Scarcello.
And our guest today is Sadie Quagliotto. She has got the fantastic lifestyle website. It's called Hip in Detroit.
Hip in Detroit.
You're celebrating 8 years with this thing now, right?
This past January was 8 years, yes.
Wow.
She was a pioneer. You know, there's lots of people with different blogs and who, what, where in Detroit, but 8 years ago, that was not the case.
I don't even think 8 years ago most people knew what a blog was. It was very hard for us to describe to people what we were even doing because they weren't used to going to one for information or anything like that.
I sometimes get the sense that Detroit is behind other cities, large cities.
I
when it comes
mean,
to
do you
blogs.
get that sense? I mean,
No,
first of all, the Midwest is behind other cities.
True.
And then, yes,
Yeah.
Detroit is.
You know, when you start looking at lifestyle blogs or food blogs or anything like that, like I found fewer here than I found in, say, a Boston or, you know, obviously in New York or LA, things like that.
I think that's why people gave us so much credit and so much attention when we started, was because it really was just not something people were used to. They were used to maybe going to Facebook invites at that point, maybe.
Barely. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, we're glad you're here. Hang out and
Thank you.
Enjoy the show.
All right, guys, I've got some trivia for you. You ready? So, Sunday was Groundhog's Day.
I'm like, are we both
There's
answering?
like
I thought this was just for you.
Deafening
No.
silence.
Oh, no.
I don't care if you're ready or not. I'm doing it.
Okay, we're doing
it. Okay. Sunday was Groundhog's Day. Now, as a nation, we sort of look over to Pennsylvania, right? The Punxsutawney Phil. And if Phil sees a shadow, it's 6 more weeks of winter, right? Here in Michigan, what do we have instead of that groundhog for the prediction? And is ours more accurate?
We have another groundhog with a different name?
Well, technically it's called something else. So I'm going to give you some choices. You ready? So what do we have? A badger, B, a woodchuck, C, a marmot, or D, a prairie dog?
All of those seem likely to me. This is really hard.
Wait, you don't use a groundhog here in Michigan? I'm not from Michigan originally.
What was the first one that you said?
Badger.
I think it's a badger.
Okay.
Badger,
Woodchuck,
woodchuck,
marmot, prairie dog.
I don't even know what a marmot is.
And prairie dogs are really tiny, and we have them at the zoo. Yeah, I'm going with badger.
Okay. How about you?
I think it's a prairie dog named Phil.
It's just a smaller
He's
version.
a Scorpio. He likes long walks on the beach. And he sneaks cigarettes when his
You
prairie
made
dog
it.
wife isn't looking.
You made yourself able to make that so wrong that just is completely on a different level. The actual answer is woodchuck.
It is a woodchuck.
Woody the woodchuck, who is a female.
Oh, no.
But here's the thing. A woodchuck and a groundhog are actually the same animal, but depends on where in the country you live. Like
Are you joking with me right now?
No. Pennsylvania calls it a groundhog. We call it a woodchuck. Woody the woodchuck. She lives at the Howell Nature Center. This was her 21st year predicting. She did not see her shadow. So that means early spring. Phil also did not see his shadow.
So they're in agreement at
They're in
least.
agreement. But here's what's interesting is usually Woody is much more accurate than Phil.
Oh, really?
Yes. So she has a record of 15 correct predictions out of the 20 that she's been doing it. Phil's is not so successful.
Do you want to know the worst part about all of this? I totally saw this on the news when I was at the gym this weekend, and you are now bringing it all back
You're
to
like,
me.
having
Because they were
flashbacks?
talking about the 15 thing, 15 out of 20 or something.
Right.
Man, I
I know
really,
it's a
really
couple
messed this
days
one up.
ago, but yeah. And what else was interesting about Sunday? What was the other big deal with
Well, it was
February
the Super
2nd,
Bowl.
2020? The Super Bowl and
Oh, that you could
the
reverse the date.
palindrome.
Yes.
yeah, the whole palindrome thing. So I'm going to say that it must be good luck, and Woody's right, and we're going to have an early spring. That's
My question is, does Woody call it soda or does he call it pop?
she.
She.
Of course, she calls it pop.
All right.
Yeah.
I like to date girls that also have lists because every time we get into an argument, it just sounds like two sprinklers are fighting with each other. No, you do the disses. No, you do the disses. What happened between two? Why is this wall all wet, John? Me and Stephanie got this really bad argument. Got messy.
That's part of our New Year's resolution. Part of the new show format is we go out to Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle for the open mic once a month, and we just start recording comedians. And if we find a joke we like, we'll bring it back. So that's John Howley. He's actually from Toledo, but he's always in Michigan making the rounds and doing the circuit. And funny guy. So
What made you interested in comedy?
it was just kind of a thing when I first got here. I was doing a lot of public speaking for work, and I wanted to get up on stage and do more. And I went to a Toastmasters, and it wasn't for me. It was, it's fine if you're learning to speak publicly, but I already knew I just wanted to get up and get better. And so I took the class over at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, so say you're a comedian, artist, entertainer. Let's just say I'm one of those things. I'm a creative. I want to get out there. Sadie, I want to ask you your expert advice because you do this for a living. What do you have for me as an artist on social media to get noticed, get engaged?
Okay,
build
so
it?
I think that the thing that people are misunderstanding about social media, and I actually put a video about this today on my Instagram, is that people think that they have to do like some code that they're going to like a bunch of people and follow a bunch of people. And if they do enough comments and if they do enough DMs and if they get the perfect lined up picture and, if they do enough stories that it's going to work. Like there's an algorithm that works. The only thing that works is authenticity. So, when I'm talking with an artist or a restaurant or anybody, it's like, what makes you special? And how do you show other people that? So if you're an artist, you don't have to invest a lot of money in like these, really highly stylized photos and all this different stuff. You can take some photos with your friends. You can take selfies. You can set up a camera anywhere. The more real it is, people will connect with it because social media is supposed to be social and it's where people go for interaction now. We don't go to bars like we used to. We don't go to these big events. Instead, we log into like chat rooms and different things. And we have friends that we know just because of the internet. Mm-hmm. So I think if you really want people to hear you on the internet and you really want them to pay attention to you, you just have to give a great version of whatever you are. If you're really good at music, play your music, but maybe teach somebody something. Give somebody a reason that they want to learn from you or be part of your experience or cheer for you. Like if you have a small brand that's selling like lotions and, whatever, there's a lot of lotions, but like what makes you special? And a lot of times it's the person making the lotion. It's the story of why you decided to do that. So I think that people, get really confused in this world of like, here's the 3 things that if you do, you'll get 100,000 followers. Also, what does 100,000 followers mean? If they're not commenting and they're not involved, when people buy followers or all these trends, because they want that number, they want that check mark. I get it. I want it too. We all want it. I'd love to have this huge account where everybody was paying attention to me. But realistically, if you have 100 followers and you can get 10 of them to listen to your album, you're actually doing better than most of the bigger brands.
Right.
I think people have a perception that like these big brands are, everybody sees it. They don't. So I think that you just really need to be true to what you're doing and try to like bring people inside the experience.
And then actually engage and have an action, like listen to your podcast or buy your album, like you said,
exactly.
Or your merchandise or something, because that's better to have those 100 really super engaged fans that actually do something.
But if they like you, they're going to just buy your album.
Right.
You can point them in the direction. You can put the links there. But if they like you and they're already following and buying into it, I mean,
you've engaged.
It's sad to say, but Kim Kardashian's a genius. Like she started a brand and she said, hey, Twitter was big at the time. Like, I'm going to make this lipstick. Do you guys like the A or the B? And that feedback got people so excited before she ever released a single lipstick that by the time she released the lipstick, they were invested, they cared about it, and they were ready to buy. Mm-hmm. So I think that people think that like it's not a game. It's, share your life with people. And that's what I try to do. I try to be show people what I do every day. And it's worked for me. It's worked for a lot of the companies I've worked for with the Rust Belt market. It was as easy as just showing people, this is what you can do. You can come, you can walk around, you can have a beer while you shop. You can bring the kids if you have to. If you're stuck inside in Michigan on a Saturday, tell me you don't want to go walk around some vendors and have a beer. Like, And it's an easy sell. You just have to tell people if you have something good, it's an easy sell.
I think a lot of artists or entertainers will feel overwhelmed at the beginning because there's so many social networks. I mean, Facebook we were all told was big, and then Twitter came along, and then Instagram, and now TikTok is running Super Bowl ads. What do you tell people? Do they need to be on everything?
You don't need to be on everything, but you need to figure out what's going to work for you. Right now, Instagram is still like my industry standard. I would say that that's still the place you want to be first and foremost. That's going to reach, the best age groups. It's still got a lot of people interacting with it, but I'm kind of like really into TikTok. TikTok's going to be interesting because right now it's really lawless and it's just really fun. And you can literally go viral overnight for something funny, but there's not a lot of ways to monetize it yet. So I'd be interested. And there's not a lot of brands using it yet. So if you are an artist, I think it's a great place to play around. It's very easy to use. You can cut videos in a few seconds. You can look up on YouTube how to do it. And, it's a really easy way to bring people into your life and have, you can make a TikTok, by the way, and share it across all those other ones. So I always tell people, cater to the one that you think has the most value. And then if there's a lot of programs that you can use where you kind of program things in advance. If that's the approach that you want to take, you can just make it go out everywhere.
Yep. Share across.
Is there anything you steer people away from?
Twitter's dying. Oddly enough, if our president had not taken office a few years ago, I think it would have been dead. But right now, the president of the United States talks to most people through Twitter, not through, traditional methods. So it stayed there, but I don't focus too much on that. But people who like Twitter.
See,
and that's what's happening.
I love Twitter.
See?
Right.
And that you're always going to be on it. That's going to be the place you go. So I do find it interesting that instead of at first it was like we all went to, what was it, like LiveJournal, then MySpace, then, Facebook. Instead of dropping off, it's like you have to add more in, which is getting difficult. So that's where I usually tell people to try to use schedulers or cross-post things.
For sure.
Also, you can hire people to do it if it becomes overwhelming.
I was going to say, I feel like your social media really has it figured out and people could actually use your advice.
It's like any other thing. It has become a job that an artist needs to invest time in or a business needs to invest time in, and we don't have time. I also tell people, here's some advice. If you're not going to do it right, don't even bother. If you're going to post once every few months, it's not going to help you that much. You know what I mean? Like you either do it or you don't do it. So,
there's not a lot of in between.
Make it. Okay, I think that people think that they have to I have to take these pictures right now and I have to post right now. Do you know that I have pictures banked up? I could post every day for the next 2 weeks about my life and not actually, I'm never where I'm posting from first and foremost.
What? You're faking it?
No, but
I thought you said authenticity.
I don't want to get mugged.
No, I know.
I don't post till I leave
It's
something.
like when you're on vacation.
Side note, Kim Kardashian, she got mugged because she kept posting on Instagram what she had on. So, it's not smart. A lot of times what I do is I'll go out, I'll have a really fun time in the city. I leave my phone in my purse. I go bar hopping. I go to shows. Pull it out. Do one picture at a show. Do one picture and put your phone down. Nobody wants to watch the video. Put the phone down. Let's all have fun. And then when I get home, I actually usually do it the next morning. Sometimes that night, but usually the next morning. And then I have fun with it. And it's like a recap of last night. Let's go have the next day.
Yeah, and then you can actually sit and think about who you're supposed to tag
and not post the picture of your girlfriend who is doing something crazy at 3 a.m. Like, let's think about this.
Yes, let's reflect on it.
And then how do you know it's working? Like there's a million different things that we can measure now, a million different ways to count. What are the numbers that you care
To me,
about?
it's I mostly work with businesses. I don't work with a lot of influencers. If I was working with influencers, it would matter about likes and, all that kind of stuff. Since I work with businesses, to me, it's sales. How many sales are you actually getting? How many new people are you actually getting through the door? Because, like a hair salon will be like, I want to be the biggest hair salon. I want to have 400,000 followers. And if your goal is to get in a hair magazine, great. But if your goal is to get 20 people to get a haircut next week, you don't need 100,000 followers.
Right.
You need to figure out how to engage 20 people.
All right, let's do some shout outs before we get out of here. Becky, let's start with you. Who do you want to give a shout out to this week?
Well, I love this. So when I'm at home, I often struggle with, I love going out to restaurants and I love all these creative flavors and like, how do I make it taste that good at home? I like to cook, but sometimes it's like a lot of prep and all this stuff. So one of our friends of the show, Chef Max Hardy, has come up with a great solution for the home cook to take the guesswork out of flavoring things. So he's got a spice line now. So they're custom blends, right? So you can take one bottle, shake it on, and when you taste his food, it's so complex and like has all these different rich flavors. This is like all together in one bottle. So he's selling that now. You can buy it at Coop at the shipping company or direct on his website, I think is coming soon. For now, go to Coop, but soon you'll be able to buy it at chefmaxcelhardy.com. But he's got these 5 collections, African, Caribbean, Latin, Low Country, and Essentials. So, or all his flavor profiles that if you've had his food, you've kind of had elements of. So I think it's great.
Awesome. What about you, Sadie? Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, yes. Last week we had a great meal at a new place called Michigan in Trumbull, which is not actually on Michigan in Trumbull. It's around the block. So it's like around the block from UFO Factory in the Corktown area. And it's a Detroit style pizza place. But it's a little more upscale, but not expensive, which is my favorite thing. So they do about 14 different pizzas, red sauces, white sauces, vegan options. And then they have a lot of really good sides. They have a fry that has like a barbecue chip spice on it and onion rings that have another chip spice to them and like a lot of veggies like broiled carrots and broccolini and very good experience.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it.
I'm still getting used to the idea of Detroit style pizza. I mean, it's not something I had heard of before
Really?
I came. Yeah, not before I came
Okay,
to
so
Detroit.
it's always square.
Always.
It's always deep.
Yep.
And it's always crispy everywhere on the bottom and the sides that hit the pan.
And the corners are the best.
So your buddies, your Jets, your like classic Detroit
Pomo's
pizzas.
now.
Yes.
Nice. We'll check it out. Hey, I want to give a shout out to somebody who unfortunately just passed away. Cartoonist Jason Pollan. He's from Franklin, Michigan. And this is according to the Detroit News. He died of colon cancer in his hometown yesterday at the age of 37. He also had a blog, like you, Sadie. It was called Every Person in New York. And he was setting out to draw, literally, like sketch, a cartoon of every person in New York. Supposedly, he had done more than 50,000.
That's amazing.
And he would just do them real quick. I
Yeah,
mean, he was
sure.
just, real fast. They actually turned it into a book in 2015. Kristen Wiig of SNL wrote the introduction to it. And among other things, he at one point sketched all the artwork in the Museum of Modern Art in New York twice because he was hoping to get a job there.
Wow. Oh, and he passed away at 37.
Yeah,
He was 37?
37.
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that.
I know. And he was already so prolific with his drawing. Just
Yeah,
imagine.
he didn't get the job at the Museum of Modern
No.
Art, but they tweeted about him in with his passing.
Gave him a little- wow.
Yeah, shout out. So, go check out the book. It's Every Person in New York, and the cartoonist is Jason Pollan. He's from Franklin, Michigan. Sadie, thank you so much for joining us today. The website is Hip in Detroit. It's been around for 8 years now.
8 years this January, yes.
Wow, that's a lot of writing. So,
Or if people just want to talk to you and potentially hire you for social media consulting, where do they go?
They go to, okay, so I'm going to spell my last name. My name is Sadie, Sadie, and my last name is Quagliotto, so SadieQuagliotto.com. My name did not have a G when my grandpa came here, but then they decided it did. So
It's happened to so many families.
it's
It made no sense.
just there now.
that seems weird, like a weird, this needs a G.
When we find them in Canada and in Italy, they have no G in their name.
Wow.
Right. Crazy stuff.
If people want to follow you on social media, how do they do that?
Sadie, Hip in Detroit.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks so much. We'll have you back again tomorrow and all week, really. Want to let you know that we have a mobile app. You should go check it out. You can download it. It's just The Debrief. It's there for your iPhone or for your Android device. And the new thing that we're doing is we are closing out every episode with a song. Becky, you got something for us?
I sure do. Of course I do. There's so many great musicians in town. And if you'd like to submit your music, just go to thedebrief.com and there's a handy little submission button right on our homepage. So today's song is The Good News by Kenneth Gill. You'll see him playing out and about around town as the KG Experience. So he's not only a musician, but a music educator, which is really cool. Has taught a lot of the future generations of musicians here in the Detroit area. He plays trombone, and this is a really uplifting jazz piece. It's all about the goodness in our lives. So who couldn't use that? It's called The Good News.
Cool. We'll check it out. Until tomorrow, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
the good news.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.